morning, Trinity. Oh, wow, that was lame. Come on, it's Friday, guys. Good morning, Trinity. Thank you. That's much better. All right, we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm just testing this out. I want to hear you guys' feedback on how we're going to do this. But I'm going to encourage you guys to pull out your tablets, pull out your cell phones, pull out whatever you take notes on, whatever the best way is that you guys take notes. And I'm going to go through the 3 points that I have to talk about today. But what I'm going to do is on the screen, I'm going to put up things that I put in the search bar of my Bible or in Bible Gateway. These are the words. I just searched these words. And when I searched these words, I was able to find all kinds of verses that backed up what I'm going to talk about today. So I encourage you guys, do it right now. You got time. Pull your cell phones, pull your devices out that you're going to keep notes on, and the things that you're going to look back on. Whether that's, that moleskin that you have in your pocket or your tablet. So in anticipation for Tim Maroke, which some of you know is a kind of high-octane guy, I decided to drink NOS this morning. So I was like, I got to par Tim Maroke, and now I'm trying to drink water to take the edge off, because I'm like, so if I'm a little bit ADD this morning, don't worry about it. I'm all right when it comes to the meeting time and the actual SGA stuff. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about today is I want to talk about how we are called to engage one another. Now, some of you guys might recall last semester I talked about something very similar to this and how SGA was going to engage with the student body this year. But I want to return to this point of how we are called to engage with each other. And so there's two words up there. We've got one another and then fellowship that'll be up on screen in a moment. Those are the two words that I just went and did some passage searching on. And I found passages in Romans, Hebrews, Acts, 1 John, 2 John, 1 Peter. All kinds of passages that supported this idea. But then I started asking myself, well, okay, it's great to talk about who is each other? I know you grammar nuts are going, each other, that's not, but who are each other? When I ask you guys to engage with each other, who is that? I know that for the 4 years that I've been here, sports teams, you guys like to congregate in those far aisles. Yeah, come on, you guys do it. And I know that the center aisles are like all those other people. I want to just do a test for you guys. I want the center aisles to look out to those wing aisles, and the wing aisles to look out. Make that awkward eye contact, okay? That second, it's like 2 or 3 seconds, you're like, I'm not looking at you. Make it, all right? That, people, is each other. And that doesn't stop here. It doesn't stop just in this room. It doesn't stop just in your classes. I want a raise of hands. How many people go to Taco Bell? All right, keep them up. How many people go to Target, Walmart, McDonald's? All right, yeah, okay. If you're not raising your hand, you're lying. I know it. Don't do that. I know that you all go there. Those people, too, are the people we're called to engage with. Those people that are taking your orders. Those people that are checking you out at the checkout. Those are people that we are called to engage with. So I ask you to think about as we start the last semester, for some of us as we graduate in May, the last semester as you count down year one in your college experience, to consider what does that look like for you. And we have a whole semester left, so it's not like we're too late on this. What is that going to look like for you guys to engage with each other this semester? The second point I want to talk to you guys about today is how we are called to serve one another. And again, some of those verses that just popped up there, tons and tons of verses. Romans again, Ephesians, 1 Peter, Matthew. These are great places to go and look. And the New Testament specifically talks a lot about what serving looks like. And the Gospels talk a lot. Christ talks a lot about it. So I encourage you guys to go and look those up when you have a chance. This afternoon, this weekend, before the Broncos whip the Seahawks. Or the Seahawks whip the Broncos. I better be fair up here. So what does this look like to serve one another? Originally, I was going to say it looks like being intentional, but that's kind of like making a statement and then clarifying the statement with another statement that people are still going to ask, what does that mean? So what does being intentional look like then? What does service and intentionality look like? So I try to simplify this too, and I imagine that all of us in here have had a crush in our life, yes? Come on, like that person you're like, ooh, I like you. Yeah, oh, come on, guys. I know this is true. how intentional are we with those people? Did I check my breath? Oh, am I wearing the right thing? Do I have a little fleck? Oh, I have a fleck there. You know, we're intentional with those people to an extreme area because we desire something and we want to make sure that we're presenting the best self that we have. So what does it look like to serve each other and to be intentional? It really looks like your actions. How do you engage with people? How do you serve people are very similar. You serve people by acting your service out. I know for me that I don't want you guys to walk away thinking that this is the extreme, that you should have crushes on every one of your peers. However, what you say, what you do about your peers, with your peers, really shows your heart and where you're at. And so be intentional with your actions is the greatest way to serve one another. And that, again, I have that word care and careful up there. Take care of your thoughts. Be careful in what you say and how you say it. Now, moving right along, let's get to point 3 here. We are called to work together. Now, the together part I put in there because it's got a nice alliteration with the 3 other points that I have, so I was like, okay, I got to put together in there. This is a fact that we're not ever going to get away from. There's not that many jobs in the world that include one person and one person only. Working together is something that you guys will all be doing. It's something you guys have already started doing. Whether it's asking the upperclassmen, is this professor any good? Or asking the upperclassmen, how hard is this class really? This is something we're already doing. It's something that we do constantly. Something that I did in order to come here. So it's not something that we're not familiar with. But this idea of work, and what does it look like to work, and why does work matter, is a whole different matter. And that's the matter that I want to talk about a little bit more extensively today. So again, I looked up verses. You can see them up there on screen. Work, hardship, joy. Found passages, John, 1 Corinthians, 2 Romans, James, Hebrews, and many, many more. And I think what I have found in reflecting upon what does it mean to work is I have found that we are designed to work. As human beings, we are created to work. I could go on a real long explanation of how this works in Genesis when God puts Adam in the garden and says, work. And how when Adam's thrown out of the garden, he works the land. Abraham, Noah, Tower of Babel even. People are working for something. So work is part of who we are and how we're designed. I love history. I love mythology. I'm huge on Roman and Greek mythology. Look at Greek and mythology, I go, how many heroes do I know that get what they want and what they desire without work? The number's 0, fascinating enough. Look at comic books. How many of you like, well, okay, all right, I look at Batman. I like Batman. How many like Batman here, yeah? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Dark Knight, love that stuff, okay? But I look at that and I go, does Batman become Batman overnight? Does he just wake up one morning and like, I'm going to put on a cowl and be like, I'm Batman? No. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And in the comic book specifically, he's talked about multiple times as the world's greatest, the human's greatest hero. Because he works his body to the physical utmost. And then he works his mind equally to the physical utmost that it's allowed to go, the mental utmost it's allowed to go. I think that's one of the reasons that we connect with these characters. It's one of the reasons that we identify with these characters, because they are working so hard to accomplish something. And that's how we're designed. We're designed to work. A little bit closer to home for you guys, athletes work all the time. Not only on the one game of the physical aspect, but the second game, the strategy game, the mental game. Am I going to get psyched out by that person? Am I going to let that pitcher make me get cold? There's 2 ways to always work in athletes. Scholars, you guys are working to hone your knowledge to the point of being the best. That's work. It's a different kind of work, but it's work nonetheless. And I think as I just continue to look through this and then look at what the Bible has to say about work, it became really apparent to me that this matter of work is something that we're designed for, but we're also called to do. We're called to do it within our community. We're called to do it where we are. So whether or not you are working on a project or that 10-page paper the night before it's due, you're called to work. And so I think as we begin this semester, haven't yet had a full week of school because of all those snow days. Isn't that awesome? I love it. I'm like sitting here, I'm like, yeah, man, I don't have to worry about a full day of school until February 15th or something. Like, what? That's awesome. But as we look at that, I also go, but I'm thinking about this and I'm going, oh, yeah, but I still have a whole semester ahead of me. So what does work look like for you? And I would challenge you today to think about these three areas of how we are called to engage each other, how we are called to serve one another, and how we are called to work together in this next semester as it becomes a pretty big time for transitions. We get the biggest break after this semester. We change from schooling to full-time jobs. As we move on, what does that look like? And going back to the heart issue of how it's something that's internal that's going to come out, is work something that you guys are committed to? Is work something that you guys really believe is important? I'm going to go back to the comic books for a second. I just picked up this new comic book series. It's called Fables. And they have this character called Jack. It's like the Jack and the Beanstalk type Jack. And he's always working for that angle. You know, he's always trying to get those quick, rich schemes. You know, the get in easy, get in out, be a millionaire without having to do any work. And I love that character because, to a certain extent, innately in part of me, I'm warring against the design that I was designed and created for. I'm warring against that reason of, I don't really want to work today. I'm lazy. I really am. When it comes down to it, I'd rather sit on the couch and read comic books, play games, talk with people, than actually do work. But that character, as much as I enjoy reading about him, I ultimately have to take that break and go, but is that the character that I want to be known as? Do I want to be known as Jack, the person who doesn't do anything and fails all the time to try to get ahead of the curve? Or do I want to be known as Batman, the guy who puts the time, the effort, the energy in to get the results that he desires? So in a few minutes, I'm just going to call the worship team up to finish this out and close this out. But I think just in closing, I really want to leave you guys with this. Where's your heart at tonight, today, for the next semester? Is work something you guys are serious about? Is serving one another something you're serious about? Is engaging one another something you're serious about? And if it's not, why is that? What are the hindrances you guys are facing? And again, that's a lot of responsibility on you guys to think about this. But I think that we're called to think, and I think that we're called to reflect upon this. So think and reflect upon this. Worship team, would you guys come back up? I'm just going to close this out in prayer today.